Departments of government efficiency dominating Duval County this week. City Councilman Ron Salem weighs in on the wins he sees for Jacksonville, including $25 million, he says, have found renewed purpose for taxpayers. Plus, the new chief financial officer for Florida brings the state's DOGE effort to the River City. Blaise Ngolia leans into his reputation for trying to reduce property taxes. We'll also talk to the state's fire marshal about insurance costs and being hurricane ready on This Week in Jacksonville. So glad you're with us today. Department of Government efficiency efforts may be scorching the ground in Northeast Florida this summer. Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan pushed back against some accusations that the city is standing in the way of a state audit.
At the end of the day, if this is something that the state wants to do, we're happy to provide them with what they want. I think they're going to find a very fiscally responsible, successful financial picture. So I don't have any reason to not want them to see that.
Florida's chief financial officer posted a letter to social media claiming that some local governments are trying to place conditions and restrictions on DOGE auditors. Mayor Deegan says that's a misrepresentation, at least in Jacksonville. Mayor's office asked state auditors to fill out a simple form listing who needs access to the city systems. Mayor Deegan saying it's a standard security step to help protect Jacksonville's financial network. So this all started last week when it was announced that Florida DOGE would make its way to Jacksonville to as the letter put it, identify and report on excessive spending at the city and county level. The entity in a letter citing rising property values, growing annual tax collections as the primary reasons for the audit. Our guest right now is Blaise Ngolia, Florida's new chief financial officer. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about the kind of the broad statewide effort, and then maybe explain why Duval County seemed so high on the list to come audit.
Yeah, and it's great to be here. Good seeing you again. Look, property tax is a big issue across the state of Florida. We are going to have some sort of property tax referendum on the ballot on November 26th, which means local governments are going to start complaining about cutting their budgets. We've seen this in the mid-2000s. We're seeing it now. So one way to do that is to make sure that we're cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse from local governments. So this exercise is to help them identify some of it. Some of them don't want any of it identified. We're going to identify it anyway, and we're going to arm voters with the information so they can do one of two things: hold their local elected officials accountable at the ballot box for excessive spending, or vote for an additional property tax increase or the elimination of property taxes on homesteaded properties next November.
CFO Ngolia, your letter to Mayor Deegan cites a 57% increase in property tax revenue since 2020. I mean, there's population growth, and of course, we know real estate prices spiked. Doesn't it make sense that the revenue has rose, that's just what happens when the prices go up?
Well, what you see is local governments having a windfall from property tax revenue. Just because you add extra population doesn't mean that you add that same amount dollar for dollar, because there are economies of scale. And governments just don't seem to get that. Businesses get that, but governments don't. And if you go back to post-COVID or pre-COVID, actually, and you start taking your government's budgets and you index them every year for inflation and population growth, they're nowhere near what the government spending is now. So that is just a great barometer of them overspending. And we know that they're wasting taxpayer dollar and they can cut. Look, today, as we were boots on the ground in Jacksonville, today, after Mayor Deegan was complaining about the budget and some people were complaining about cutting back on the spending, they actually voted for a tax cut. So kudos to them. They, the council members that voted for the tax cut, because they know there is room to cut.
The controversy with the mayor that we noted at the beginning of our segment here goes to toward access of Jacksonville's financial systems. Mayor Deegan saying that the city's just trying to maintain the property security in a really important area. Do you think there's anything wrong with that, and the presentation in this case from Jacksonville to say, need you to fill out these forms?
Yeah, there is something wrong with it. Look, it's a political game. They're trying to make us do these audits on their terms. We are doing these audits on our terms, and our terms to protect the taxpayer. Look, we do not have to sign anything by virtue of law or by the virtue of my constitutional authority to audit people. So whether it's signing a document similar to this, or it's another county which they tried to get us to sign non-disclosure agreements, none of that is a precursor to getting public information in an effort to help bring down people's property taxes. The idea of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse should not be predicated on signing a document that government wants us to sign.
So I've looked at some of your comments when, as you mentioned, boots on the ground this week in Jacksonville. Maybe explain exactly what this effort is looking for when it comes to an audit of Jacksonville's finances.
Yeah, we're looking things that stick out. Obviously, a 54 to 57% increase in property tax revenue is over and above what you indexed for inflation and population. So what we're looking for is what has been spent over the last 4 years that probably do not comply with A, federal law, or B, the will of the taxpayers. And, as outlined in some of the letters that we've sent, we're looking for things that have to deal with a Green New Deal or a DEI initiatives. Those are the easy ones. But we're also looking at some of the things that stick out. So like, just as a for instance, let's say that there's a building that is acquired, or a building is going to be built by government at $400 a square feet would be normal price, but they pay $800 a square feet. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at, which would be termed as a waste of taxpayer dollars.
So maybe we wrap up this topic here. Mayor Deegan says that her administration has been working to improve efficiency since, as she put it, her first day in office. And prior to her election, Republican Lenny Curry led the city. So city council, majority Republican leadership, even a special committee on government efficiency. Is there any thought that Jacksonville in particular hasn't turned over every rock in search of lost coin here?
Yeah, look, first of all, I applaud their efforts to try to be proactive on some of the stuff. When the city council members I met with, some of them, I've discussed some of this stuff. But unfortunately, it is staff and bureaucrats underneath the elected officials that sometimes do the most egregious spending, and they hide things and they do things that they're not supposed to. And then when we alert the elected officials, they say, hey, I had no idea, and thank you for doing this. It's been a tale as long as time when it comes to government. The bureaucrats do things that the elected officials don't want to, and the elected officials are ultimately on the hook. So we're going to let them know, let the voters know, and let people decide the future of the city of Jacksonville.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So that's that topic. Florida CFO with us today, and is going to be here when we come back from commercial. We're going to talk about his role as fire marshal and his goals in this office that he just assumed a few weeks ago. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ingoglia is with us today, taking office in Florida July 21st. So, sir, you've been in state government since 2014, elected to the Florida House, then elected to the state Senate, also been chair of the Republican Party of Florida. So now as CFO, tell us about your priorities.
My priorities are the taxpayer and the people of Florida's priorities. Home affordability in general in the state of Florida is a big issue. So I'm going to be laser focused on making sure that we create an environment where insurance companies can enter the market and compete, driving down insurance rates. We have a really good start, but there's still a lot of work left to do with that. Bringing down property taxes, another big issue. We are going to be focusing on that. Long term, one of the things that I want to rely on is the fortification of our coastline, and making sure that we're hardening our homes and our coastlines. So this way we have less losses when hurricanes eventually come through, which will then translate into rate reductions for insurance. Those are the big issues that I'm working on. And in addition, rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse at local government and state government levels.
Well, certainly over the past several years, that really has been a focus from your predecessor, CFO Jimmy Patronis. This whole idea of insurance and the cost had just exploded. There's obviously been reform that you've been part of in the House or the Senate. How do you feel, where are we with property insurance in the state right now?
Yeah, look, we have insurance actually follows the rise in property values also. So if you have a home that was worth $250,000 a couple years ago, and now that home is worth $450,000, your premium is going to go up because the replacement value is going up also. But having said that, the things that we can do is make sure that the rates that are assigned to that are not overblown. We had insurance lawsuit reform done a couple of years ago. We are seeing the fruits of that labor. Other states are seeing double-digit increases in insurance rates for property. The state of Florida is less than 1%, but there's still a lot of work to go. And I will tell you that one of the things that I'm also focused on is making sure that we are holding insurance companies accountable if they don't do what they say they're going to do. I'm going to call balls and strikes. If I see the market getting out of whack for a specific reason, I'm going to call it out. If I see insurance companies taking advantage of policyholders, I'm going to call that out also and look to find them. So what you're going to get out of me, out of the CFO's office, is somebody who actually cares about your pocketbook issues and work hard to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to make it easier for you to live in a great state of Florida.
Well, and this goes back to your professional background, right? As I looked over your biography, so that's real estate and development. I mean, that was part of where you started your career. Is that right?
Not development. I've never developed a property, but I am a home builder. We build on spot lots. Some that the lots where I build on were built in the 70s and 80s. So, but yeah, I understand construction industry. I understand going in and replacing homes that have been damaged by hurricanes. So yes, I have, I guess, a little bit leg up when it comes to this, knowing what to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a tough thing. I know we had Senator Scott was in town this past week talking about being prepared for hurricanes, our local elected leaders. I mean, anywhere in Florida, we have to be thinking proactively about our properties when it comes to hurricane season.
Yeah, we do. And one of the things that I want to work on legislatively is make sure that we take away the disincentive to harden your homes. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm sure many people on the coast are, is that if you take a home and you want to harden it, increase it, elevate it, make it to today's hurricane standards, you actually get whacked with property taxes. So there's a disincentive for people to go out and harden their homes. I think we need to do away with that and take away the increase of property taxes for that. So that's a long-term goal. But yes, you are right. We need to start thinking about long-term stability of the markets and bring people's costs down.
Another element of the role of CFO, you're also the state fire marshal. So you serve as the Division of State Fire Marshal, providing those fire-related training, education services. Tell me about some of your goals there as State Fire Marshal.
Yeah, the first responders have always had a special place in my heart, whether it was law enforcement or now I have the honor to represent a lot of people in the fire industry. I've always been a proponent. I've worked legislatively on things like making sure that they have PTSD coverage, cancer presumption coverage for firefighters, and that's not going to stop. In fact, I'm going to keep on pushing to make sure that our firefighters are safe on the job and they have the resources that they need in order to keep all of us safe. But among that also, dovetailing back into making sure that we prepare for hurricanes, our urban search and rescue teams, which fall under the chief fire marshal. Those are the heroes, sort of like the Navy SEALs and the Green Berets of the fire, where they go out and help people and rescue people during these hurricanes. So I'm going to look forward to working with them.
Yeah, we've seen our members from Jacksonville involved in urban search and rescue, and you're right, they are heroes. Just to wrap up, there's something really popular, I think, that your office does, and that's Florida's division of unclaimed property. That's something you're still going to see happen for everybody, right?
Yeah, we're still doing it. In fact, we just issued a press release, I think it was today or yesterday, with the amount of money that we've of unclaimed property that we've helped return back to their owners. We're going to work on that as a core function of the CFO's office. And we're not going to stop that, because not only is it a feel-good thing, it's the right thing to do, try to connect people with money or things that they may have lost in the past and reunite them.
Yeah, I'm like a lot of people. I think I know where all my money, I'm going to look anyway, just to make sure. And just to make sure that people got to meet you, I'm so glad CFO Blaise Ngolia with us today. Thanks for your time, sir.
My pleasure anytime, Ken.
And stay with us. City Councilman Ron Salem is going to join me after the break. We're going to talk about the city's DOGE initiative and what's happening there. So stay with us. That's coming up on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
All right, here's the quote. Whether it's repurposing unspent dollars, locating unallocated revenue, planning a contingency fund, or making sure city services are serving the public efficiently, we are focused on transparency and accountability. That statement from Ron Salem, Jacksonville City Council at-large Group 2, and City Councilman Ron Salem. He made that comment earlier this year. He's our guest in this segment, and I appreciate you being here. For full transparency, on our end, we're doing this interview just before the state does their audit of the city of Jacksonville finance as part of their DOGE effort. So that's ongoing. But this week, the state announced that the audit of city finances is happening this last Thursday and Friday. So you led the Jacksonville City Council Special Committee on Duval DOGE up until the end of June when we were hearing about some of your efforts there. How do you feel about this? Is this state effort warranted here in the city of Jacksonville?
Kemp, first of all, thanks for having me. I think it's warranted. I think anytime we can have a group of experts come into our city that have visited other cities and can take a look at our finances and advise us on items they may see that we can do better, I think that's always helpful. And I look forward to their visit. And if there are things that the Duval DOGE can follow up on from their visit, I've advised them that we're more than willing to do that.
Part of the Duval County DOGE committee efforts included auditors. Do you think the city is not using taxpayer dollars wisely?
I think as we go through this particular budget process, which starts on Thursday of this week, tomorrow as we tape this, I think you're going to see quite a bit of discussion on the mayor's budget and how we can make it better.
So when it comes to the state effort, initially the mayor's office is saying, hey, we're ready to comply. I think she's still saying that. But there were some, I don't know, is it getting in the weeds that they said, hey, fill out this form, tell us who needs access to the city finances. We want to make sure it's a secure process.
Well, clearly, I think the CFO has all the rights to any of our finances. And I just thought he probably thought that some of this was just getting in the way of his team and getting in and getting to work. And I hope all that's been resolved where he and his team can come in and do what they need to do. And as I indicated to you, the letter that came to the mayor asked our team to send them our results, and we have done that. Yeah. And they have reviewed those and acknowledged that they're going to use those in their review.
So what happened out of the special committee? You were talking about, hey, we found some, was it $25 million that either was unallocated or hadn't been spent yet? Is that right?
It was $25 million of capital improvement projects. These are money that is used for roads, parks, capital projects, large projects. We found through our auditors, and let me give them all the credit in the world, $25 million of projects that had not been touched in 18 months. Some of these projects, a significant amount of them, were completed and the money was just sitting there. In addition to a large portion of projects where there'd been no activity for 18 months. So we captured it and we have put about 7 or 8 million of that to work already. We funded a fire station. We're funding some improvements at the equestrian center, and Councilman Diamond had a project at the beach for a lifeguard station, and we funded that through our Duval DOGE.
Okay, yeah, that my financial planner would say that's lazy money. If it's just sitting there not doing anything, you're trying to make sure that the city's able to recapture lazy money and put it to use.
And clearly in past administrations, when a project was completed, those dollars were then moved to other projects, and they weren't just left laying there. And that's the frustration I think our committee had with the process.
What's next step for you or for the committee in our final couple minutes here that we're talking about this?
Well, we are dormant right now because of the budget process, and the auditors are very involved. The next big thing that we're going to attack is health care benefits. Our health care plan that we have through Florida Blue, the premiums that we're charging our employees, and we're self-insured, so the money we're paying out, there's about a $23 million gap that we're making up through taxpayer dollars. And we are bringing in a consultant, the council is, the Bailey Group, to take a look at that. And what do we need to do to our health care plan to close that gap? We shouldn't be using general revenue dollars to close that gap. Those should come through the plan itself.
Final thought, the state effort for auditing referenced, hey, we think that revenue from property tax has gone up more than it should. Do you find that to be true?
Well, last year we had when I was finance chair, we had $73 million in new money. This year we have $87 million in new money.
Because the property values have gone up?
That is correct. The rate has not changed.
Yep.
So I think there may be a push by the Finance Committee to cut the property tax rate a little bit and reduce some spending a little bit.
Yeah. Well, City Councilman Ron Salem, I appreciate it. It helps to get your perspective, but also kind of simplify things for people. Said, what's this state effort, the local effort, all of that, and how does it even track with maybe that national thing too? Appreciate your time, and I want to have you back soon and talk through the budget process, and then we get beyond that to the committee renewing its efforts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Congressman Aaron Bean will join us next time. We're also on the books with Mayor Donna Deegan, too. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 in the CW17 and then online at news4jax.com or streaming on News4Jax Plus. And don't forget to check out This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. This episode of our podcast looks at the growing tech industry in Northeast Florida with our special guests Matthew Chang and Summer Vine. You can find new episodes every Thursday at 9 a.m. You're going to find it right now on News4Jax Plus under the channel This Week in Jacksonville.
See why every day more people are choosing News4Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.